Hey everybody, so we're at a pretty cool time. We can actually, I was playing around with this yesterday and playing with FOV just kind of blew my mind. I was literally walking around the neighborhood with changing my actual personal field of view because it's pretty cool. But anyways, there is a pretty significant bug here. Right now I'm checking to see if the camera's FOV exists, or and then this is actually returning false if it's ever set to zero, and then it never changes again. So that is wrong. It should just be the camera item, and we actually already have a FO camera item check down here. So what we need to do is get rid of that, and there's a whole bunch of them. So a cool way to do that would be, let's see if I can do this. Control Alt L, I believe, selects all of these. No, Control Shift L. Yeah, Control Shift L. So that selected all of these at one time. Um, and so what we can do is then we can hit the, what can we do? We can actually hit the down button or shift and down. Yep. And then that has us all extremely consistent across all of the selections. And then we can um, delete that. And everything's the same for all of the pieces. Now, I think if we hit the right button, we're all over here. And if we hit down, and so now we're good. The thing that's challenging about this is they could be slightly different because of the length of what you were grabbing. Or, like the near is a different number of letters than far. I don't know if that makes sense, but if you ever play around with this, it will make sense what I'm saying. So when you navigate, you got to navigate in sort of a way that it doesn't matter what the back position is. So now I hit back, and now all of these are exactly the way I want them. So now I'm just going to hit, see if I hit up twice and I can delete that extra. Yeah. So now I've mass deleted that extra line, and so I can hit escape and we can go back to this. Now we have an error because camera item could be undefined because we said it was could be undefined when we declared it. So we can take all of this, we can move that in here, and we can just move it all in here and we're good. So now we don't have to worry about the camera, one of these being set to zero, and then one of these camera elements being set to zero, and then we're kind of broken. Okay, so cool. So I believe we have, yeah, we're calling update camera, but update camera just does a console log. And I can't go there in a cool way. There's probably some keyboard strokes that I can do. So what I can do here, and I don't, if you're paying close attention, this may, and you don't really have a solid grasp on how things get passed by reference versus how they get passed by value. This might, if you think about it, blow your mind, but at this point, I can just say set up camera, and things will just automatically update. I have never, like, I've literally, yep, see, there we go, 20. I have literally never been able to explain this very well to people, but basically, update camera. Okay, so I don't even have to send the camera item in. So I'm just going to get rid of that and get rid of that. And so now we're just going to go back to where we were. See, this camera item is a place in memory. And this camera item that we just updated is the same place in memory. So this is the kind of equivalent of Three.js service has a place in memory that it refers to called camera item. So it's like an address, a house address or something like that. And camera manager item is doing this, has the same house address. So they're updating the same object, even though they're in different things. Now, what Angular does that is sort of unique, is Um, well, not even that. Sometimes when you're passing things from the template, it's obviously doing some stuff behind the scenes to make this happen. But this is a feature of JavaScript, not specifically um, Angular. Um, so it makes sense. And this is like one of the things that's just very, very different about a language that runs in real time that isn't pre-compiled. But even though this is TypeScript and it is pre-compiled, it's pre-compiled into JavaScript, and then it gets executed, and it's a runtime language as opposed to like Java or .NET, C Sharp or something, where it's compiled into a different language completely called assembler code, and that all that compilation happens ahead of time. So, anyways, let's get back to this, the fun stuff. Um, so right now, the perspective, the field of view is 70. Now, for an average human being, my understanding from my research of the internet, the average field of view is 120 degrees. So right now, what we're doing is this: we're standing 5 feet away from a box, or 5 units away from a box that is 1 by 1 by 1 unit, and the full width of this um, item and full height of this space is 120 degrees. And so it looks smaller. But if we were to make it 20 degrees, for example, so let's say you were a person, you had severe tunnel vision, the full width of this is 20 degrees. That's why the box looks so much bigger. And it's just the percentage of the space that's taken up because the field of view is smaller. Um, I think that's the only one of these that's like particularly interesting. Um, we can, we could play around with other things, and when we add animation, like more control over animations, you know, being able to do stuff is more interesting. But being able to like kind of zoom around by Z position or X position or whatever is more interesting. Another interesting kind of thing, and it's just kind of a feature of um, of 3JS is I'm going to turn, I'm going to move the X along the X, so it's going to X axis, so it's going to move over to the right, but it's not going to change where it's looking. So see, so it's still looking straight on because that's how the camera was orientated. So it was like you could imagine a camera, and it was orientated to look at 0, 0, 0, and then we changed that. So it might make sense. I don't know. We'll think through it. Uh, Maybe on the next round we'll add like a look at. So where it's looking at. Right now it's just um, it starts off looking at 0, 0, 0 orientated that way, and then if you slide it around, it stays. It doesn't change its orientation. So now the camera is pointing over the top a little bit. Um, you know, we're kind of like we could just iterate forever, adding new cool features and all that. I don't want to do that because, just to be completely honest with you, what's going to happen is we're going to move on probably just to animation, something real simple soon. And when we do that, um, all I'm going to do is add it on and off. But when we go to lights, which will be the next one, we're going to come up with all kinds of new UI features, and it's just going to we're going to have all this organic growth. And what's going to happen is at some point we're actually going to we're going to, after lights, we're going to probably circle back to meshes, and meshes, like, camera is going to be, I mean, lights is going to be even better than this. It's probably going to have icons, it's going to have little infos and stuff like that. And meshes is going to be generations behind, so we're going to have to catch meshes up, and we'll have new ideas and all that, and then we'll go probably back to camera again, and we'll have to catch camera back up to where lights is and all that. And it's going to be so I don't want to just keep adding tons and tons of new features to this into something that, and make it harder to sort of upgrade and keep the look and the feel of all this consistent. Um, and that is a big problem. I'm running out of time. Um, that is one of the biggest problems in like a multi-team agile sort of setup is that you might have that original team that builds out this original meshes that then looks like this, and we thought it was so cool when we built it, but then camera team comes in and it looks like this, and then it's like, wow, that's really good. And meshes teams might be off, working even in another project or doing some completely distracted doing something else, and then lights teams comes in and then they start with this, and then they add icons and info pop-ups and blah 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 blah, and then mesh team gets re-engaged and they're like, what is wrong with mesh team? This guy's, they're Luddites. Something's wrong with them. Why would they build something that looks so crappy? And trying to keep all these different groups looking consistent without, like, the other option would be that you don't let anybody make it look better. Like you force the camera team to look like the mesh team, and that happens in a lot of places, and that is a really bad anti-pattern, because that's how, like, I can't tell you how many interviews I've done in the last week where I look at their website and it's just like something that looked like it was built in like 2002 or something, because it looks like this. I mean, this looks good compared to what they have. Um, they have very strange looking buttons and all that, and I'm sure that was because they didn't want to find themselves in a situation where part of their application looks amazing, part of their application looks ancient. So just so they could avoid that battle, that political battle, they prevented all forward motion. Um, anyways, just some thoughts. This was a fun one because I got to do the multi-cursor editing, and we actually got to see what FOV does. Um, anyways, happy coding. See y'all later. Bye.